Let's go ahead and jump into this. Hi, my name is Gerald Leonard, and I'm the host of Workplace Jazz. And with me is Donald Robinson, who's my co-host. And Donald's a Grammy-nominated producer who's done a lot of great things out there and is making amazing things happen, even during this pandemic. And so we're excited to be here. And we have our guest artist with us today, and his name is David Dyson. Now, if you haven't heard of David Dyson, you have heard of David Dyson because you've listened to a lot of people. I would say he's a songwriter and an arranger and a producer, and he has performed with New Kids on the Block, Michelle, Pieces of a Dream, right? George Duke, Regina Bell, Jonathan Butler, Najee, Candy Dulfer, Rick Braun, Gerald Albright, Norman Brown, Bobby Lau, Doc Powell, and Michael Franks. At least that's what Wikipedia told me. But I looked at your website as well, and you got a lot of people that you've played with, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And actually, I have performed with Gerald Veasley many times. Several. Well, I won't say many, at least 3 or 4 times. Probably 5 times, as the backup bassist.
Oh yeah.
And then we did a show together called Bases Loaded, and it was Gerald Veasley, myself, and Mark Walker, another legendary bassist. He did all legendary bass lines on Richard Smallwood's tunes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Total Recall, Total Braves, Total Braves, and all those songs. I mean, he's a great bass player. So we did a show together, and that was really fun on the Smooth Jazz Cruise, Capital Jazz Cruise, actually. Yeah. And the thing about that is I was surprised because we did the last night, and before that, George Duke, Stanley, everybody had performed throughout the week. So I was thinking everybody's gonna be tired, and nobody's gonna want to see us by the end. And we packed the place out, so it was pretty cool, and the promoter was happy. So I'm Gerald's great cats too, both Mark and Gerald.
Well, that's excellent, man. That's excellent. Well, you and I met at Gerald Veasley's bass boot camp.
Yes.
And the way, it's such a surreal environment here because Donald Robinson was someone I was introduced to by a guy named Steve Harrison. And then Steve introduced me to, Donald introduced me to Gerald Veasley, and Gerald invited me up to his bass boot camp. Right. And the one that I came to, he had been doing these things for years. I was in the Maryland area for years, probably around not too far from where you lived. I've since moved. I'll tell you about that later. But that was the first one I went to, and it was just so amazing. And for someone who has been, starting to write books and get back into playing a little bit, I did school and whatnot and playing. But man, it inspired me, and you inspired me because it just, I had never heard of you, honestly. And it was just like, I was like watching this guy up there doing this interlocking and those kinds of things, the stuff that you were teaching us. And I was just like, this guy is amazing. So yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So tell us, how'd you get started playing bass, man?
Being inspired by other bass players like Larry Graham. I mean, before I was playing, I was listening to Larry Graham and Bootsy and all the bass players on the records. I mean, even like the other day, I heard somebody using a sample, and I was telling my son, "Oh, you know where that came from?" And I told him why, and it came from it was Dennis Coffey, and I guess they want a Detroit band or something like that. But it's Dennis Coffey's the artist, and it's a song called Scorpio.
Okay.
And I said, that breakdown, that comes from his song. Check this out. And I remember every time I hear it, I think of myself being like 6 or 7 years old. I remember I was listening back then before I even played bass. And I remember that was probably the first bass solo I heard that's on there. It kind of starts it off after the percussion, in the middle of the percussion solo.
Yeah.
So, just inspired by, I don't even know who that bass player's name is, but because I've been inspired by many. And everybody I hear. But, just listening, I was in my parents' basement listening all the time. I mean, before we had real headphones, before they started making headphones, I guess I'm telling my age, I was sitting down I was laying down with a pillow on the floor, and I had the 2 speakers on the side of the pillow, and that was my headphones. I would lay down and listen to the speakers on the floor with speakers on either side.
Right.
And that was my thing, and I was listening to everything, anything that my parents had. And then when I went over to my godmother's house, I was listening to everything she had: Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Spinners, Rare Earth, Kool and the Gang, everything from this, span. My father had the whole Temptations, Richard Pryor records, New Bird, P-Funk, Funkadelic, and so I was listening to, everywhere I went, I was listening and taping music, and it was just all a part of me. So then by the time I was, when did my parents give me my first bass? I think
it was like 12 years old. That's what I read.
Yeah, because 14 is when I got my second bass. 12 was when I got my first bass.
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
Mel Bay book. So that's what got me started listening to. But the catalyst was Louis Johnson. When that Looking Out for Number One album came out, I used to stare at the cover. That was it. That was it. That was it for me. I had to play bass when I saw that Louis Johnson album. Brothers Johnson album, Looking Out for Number One. That was it. That did it for me.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Donald.
Wow. Yeah. No, I met you. You used to play with Pieces of a Dream too, right?
I still do.
Okay. All right. I remember
during this break. I didn't mean to cut you off, but during this break, I wrote another song for the next record with Curtis, with the drummer too.
Okay. Yeah. Because I played with Gerald. Me and Gerald used to play with Grover Washington Jr. together. I was his music director for years. And so I've been part of the Gerald Veasley band for forever, the last 10 years. We both out of Philadelphia. It's a small musical community. Everybody know each other. And I remember, at the Berks Jazz Fest, remember the Midnight Jam sessions. I think I started a couple of times. Yeah, so I was like in the house band as a keyboard player and playing with all your wonderful cats. Incredible musician you are. I just wanted to say that to you. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I remember that night. It was freezing. He wasn't other incredible bass player, Brian
Culberson.
No.
Brian.
Huh?
I'm trying to think his last name.
Killer bass player with glasses. I got his. He even plays like guitar on the bass. He's killer too.
Right.
I can't think of his name now. I can't think of his name.
Oh man, I'll get it before the.
Yeah, I'll think of it before.
Yeah.
Or it'll be 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'll say, that's it. Let me hit him back. Let's go do it.
Yeah. That was some wonderful time. I missed that whole thing with the, COVID and everything going on. I think they're gonna pick it up again in March of 21. So we'll see what happens. But so my question to you is, with all of this going on with COVID and the music business, how do you keep it going? What do you think is like some of the areas that are like kind of unresolved that we can, work towards during this time? Anything? How's it working for you?
Well, it's all, for me, it's all about a mindset, because I'll admit the first week I was in a little funk because I had stuff lined up through the end of the year, and I was happy with what I had lined up with. I had a lot of stuff lined up, and it's all just vanished. And I didn't want to face it. It took me a week or two to realize, wow, really? It's all gone?
Right.
And then after that point, then you start thinking, wait a minute, where is this gonna go? When will this ever come back? And I say, well, you know what? I can't stay here in this funk. I got to think, there's still got to be, there's still people working. There's still people working and making money.
Right.
I made a lot of money, a good deal of my money doing live stuff, but I also make money doing tracks and stuff, but I wasn't mainly focusing on those. I was mainly focusing on a lot of stuff. So this made me really start focusing on my own stuff and live stuff and writing, which is like my ultimate goal anyway. Mm-hmm. As much as I love playing, I think the whole next level is not just writing, but not just being nominated for writing on and as a band, and getting nominated for Grammys, writing on a record, and playing on a record, but I want to be nominated for my own song, my own Grammy. I want to, and I mean, not just nominated, but I want it. I want to win a Grammy. You know what I mean? So that's like, I like having something to look forward to. So in order to get through this and anything else, you have to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, all right, what can I do? I started reaching out to some cats, and then I started posting stuff about bass tracks and this and that, and so every time I do, I start getting people, hit me up that need tracks, stuff for songs and stuff. I've been working a lot, so I've been doing more bass track stuff than I ever have.
Right.
And it's easy, and I love it. I mean, I just love it. It's so easy. Got my own home studio, and I've been doing tracks for people anyway. Peter White hit me up because things are slow for him too. So there was a song that there was in a sound check. I was playing a bass line. I do spontaneous grooves all the time, and I was just testing my bass out. And he said, "What's that?" He was filming it with his camera, and he said,
"Oh, wow.
What's that? What are you gonna do with that?" And I was like, I'm gonna do something. I don't know. I just made it up, but I'm gonna do something with it. Look at these right ideas.
Right. Don't take my soul.
Right. So he called me up and he said, let's write a tune based off of what you were doing, this and that. So hopefully that'll be on the next record, because we just finished up about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Awesome.
So we finished up on that, and then Walter Beasley called me with some stuff, and then another artist. I've been doing stuff with the artists across the seas. So I think where this is going is the same way it'll probably end up going with school. Now, we had snow days. We were looking forward to snow days, Jack. No more snow days with this video stuff, because they're going to say, if the snow comes and there's no school, you're still going to have class.
Right.
We're going to log into this link. This was Zoom. Log in at such and such time, regardless, So right. I just realized that last night, and I was cracking up and laughing at my kids, because I was like, no more snow days. That's it. That's it. That's it. I said, I'm glad it wasn't when I was young, because I look forward to snow days.
Right.
But
right.
I think it just is going to take virtual stuff to a whole nother level. And as far as making money, I don't want to concentrate on. I wanted to get back to live performances. It's something that's missing, just like Tower Records and Virgin Records online, or them going out of business and you just getting your stuff online. It's not as exciting as it was. I like going in a record store.
Right.
In Japan, HMV, and in France and stuff. There's certain stores, like La Musique, Play Music, or whatever. I would go in there. I would stay for hours, and I'd come out with hundreds of dollars of music. And that's fun for me. That's fun for me. It's like a candy store. It's no fun to look online. I don't buy as much music as I used to, because it's not as fun. If I hear something, I'm like, good, I'll do some research and change. But I'd rather write some new stuff myself. This great.
Yeah.
So as far as where's going,
looking at credits and all of that stuff, I miss all of that for sure.
Me too. I miss it. So I guess with all that being said, I'm always looking for the next. So that's what I've been doing outlines and looking for, okay, what's next? I want to stay on top of what's next and what works for me being next. And so right now it's bass tracks and writing songs for people, but and I want people to call me as much for my songwriting as I do get called for my bass playing. And so that's my goal. And I'm getting better at my songwriting. My songwriting has come a long way. Not that it was bad in the beginning, but I see where I'm growing. Like with this latest artist, I wrote him something, and then he said, nah, that's not gonna work for watercolors. I'm looking for this. And once you give me a guideline of what you're looking for, I'm like, okay. And that's a gift too, to be able to do that, because if you can't do that, you're not gonna make an artist happy.
Right.
And I was like, if you give me an example and give me some guidelines, and I said, okay, I'm gonna start from scratch. Bam. In one evening, I had him a song, and he was very happy with it. Pleased, everything's great. So I'm like, if you need me to change anything else, just let me know. Just being amicable about everything. You can't take anything personal. I've been through that where I've written stuff, and you take stuff personal because it's your work. That's
your baby.
That's right.
You take it personal. You got to learn not to take it personal. Right. You got to learn. And I realized that with some issues. And so anything that I did. Anything that is not used,
Yeah.
with pieces. There's been songs that haven't been used, but guess what? Down the line, somebody else is going to want that song.
Exactly.
And so
exactly.
I wrote something and I used that. And Jeanette Harris loves it, so that's going to be on her next record. So
okay,
I'm
excellent.
realizing how things work, and I'm excited about what's next now. You know,
that's cool. That's cool. Now, you know, like I said, I wrote about you in the book, and the chapter that I wrote about was called "Surrender to Support." And the reason I chose you as an example of surrender to support is that I found this video of you on YouTube. And I think it's Pieces of a Dream. I think you were in Detroit. It was they were recognizing you for guys going into the Hall of Fame for the rock and roll R&B Hall of Fame, I believe, and up in Detroit at Motown. And you guys were playing a concert. And I think you were talking about a song. You guys were playing a song that you wrote, I believe. And during the whole song, I'm watching the guitar player. I'm watching the keyboard player, the guy who's playing that little funky keyboard.
James.
Exactly.
James Lloyd.
And you know, the whole time you're just sitting back doing your thing, just laying down the tracks, laying down the bass. And I thought, you know, this is a perfect example of what the business world, you know, if we share this with the business world, what it means to be surrendered to support. And I think from that, having that mindset of just loving to play the bass line and loving to play that role has gotten you to be one of the most in-demand bass players around, because you get all these guys that are calling you, like I said, the list that I read, and that was only a fraction of the folks that you've played with. So tell me, how did you come to that point where that became more of a natural thing for you?
As far as surrendering to the support?
Yeah, surrender to support of just playing, just being comfortable and happy, just playing your part and supporting the other guys, knowing that you could have your own solo albums and do all this funky other stuff, but you also really enjoy, and I could tell it, you really enjoy just laying down the bass line and playing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you asked the question. I talk about that in a lot of the bass clinics, but it's because I've seen a certain character in certain type of musicians, and I can't stand it. You know, certain musical. I've been a musical director before, and I think that's what helped. You know, musical director for different groups, including New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
And I cut my teeth on that gig because that was my first time being a musical director. So I had to go on. I had to do my homework. Now, I realized after coming out of that gig, other musical directors, they could not get on another gig and not be Mr. Musical Director. It's like, dude, you're not here for that. They asked you to be a keyboardist. You're not the musical director. So don't come on here acting like you know it all and that you know what somebody wants. And it's like come and know your place. You know what I mean? So you don't go on every gig thinking that, they knew I was musical director on this, so they expect me to come in and take care of it. No, you're not hired for that. You're hired to do your part, to be and make everybody sound good and do your part and make everything flow the way you're supposed to and add the vibe and everything else. You make the head bobs and make everybody happy. You're not here to take over and be micromanager and control everything and be the big guy giving all the signals. And I can't stand it when I see musicians do that, because it's like, it's not about you. Right. So, and when it comes to music, that's overall my general thing. I love music and I'm about playing the different genres and stuff. But when it comes to my record, I'm gonna play what I want. It's not about what everybody else wants me to. It's not about what radio wants me to play. It's not about what's gonna make me money because people want it. No. The ultimate reward is when I can create my music and people love it for what it is because it came from me. That's the ultimate, not that I created it for them to love it. You know what I mean? And it's not for, you know, that's not why I always take myself back to that little boy that was listening to the speakers beside me on the pillow. I got into music because I love music. So I want people to love it, but I'm not creating music for you to love it. I'm creating because that's what's coming out of me. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing. And if you love it, I'm grateful you love it, because that's what, that's what I created it for. I created it because it's coming out of me, and I want people to love it. If you don't love it, then I respect that, and I don't expect everybody to love it. But so that I take that same attitude when it comes to musical support. I'm not going to play somebody's song like I want to play it. I'm going to play it like they want to hear it. And if I can add my feeling to it and put myself in it without making it my song, that's what it's about. So it's about making everybody better, but not making it about yourself. So that's overall, that's my whole attitude. And I can't stand people. Well, now I won't say people. I can't stand that attitude of, I'm here now. It's all about me. I know what you want. Okay. No, get out of here with that. So that's my whole mentality, and that goes across the board.
Well, when I met you, that's kind of how you came across. Was you were there to support what Gerald was doing at the boot camp, and you kind of came in, and my role is to play this and do this part of the workshop and to kind of serve. But hey, I'm just one of the guys, and that was really like inspirational to see, knowing once I got to know who you were and whatnot, things that you have done, that you just kind of came in with that level of humility, if you will. To just say, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to support. I'm here to share. And, these guys are running things. I'm just doing my part.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the camaraderie, especially amongst bass players and drummers. There's amongst musicians, period. But there's a lot of, there can be a lot of hating and stuff, but amongst musicians, I don't believe in that. I believe in supporting each other. If you don't like something somebody does or the way they are, whatever, then just you don't have to comment on their page. You just move on. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to be any, So, but and then if you're ready to support, if somebody you want to support, just support. That's what you're supposed to do. So exactly. I'm about, we're here to help each other out, not to talk about each other and push them down. I'm not with all that. So I love camaraderie and brotherhood amongst musicians. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Don, I know if you have something else.
No, I was just just listen to what you're saying as far as a couple of words rang out. The chemistry that you have with people is so important when you're working with them. And people egos, coming in and showing, thinking they got to be this way and that way. That just usually don't work, Right. And also the humility. I think it's just makes you much more, people want to approach you more if they feel like, okay, he's down to earth. Oh, this guy seems to be really cool, as opposed to being all the way up here and, unapproachable or Mr. Know-it-all. And there's a lot of that goes on in this business sometimes. You see a lot of that. So when I think about like working with Gerald Veasley and different bass players, and something that you mentioned, which I think is the key when you were talking about your music and doing what you want to do, is really just being authentic with who you are. When I think of people like Larry Graham, and they play the way they play, they just bring a whole different thing, and people gravitate to that. I think when we try to go into a place where, radio, smooth jazz is saying, oh, it's got to be these chords, and, that's too much, that's too, you can't do that. You can't really be yourself and really pour out your gifts, your artistry that you have. So that can be challenging for a lot of people when they try to get on certain radio stations. I remember actually playing with Grover Washington Jr., and they came up with this algorithm for smooth jazz. And we were actually send songs to the record company, but they would send it to these people who were, they hired for smooth jazz, and they would send us a list of things that they felt about the record, and it would be, oh, the chords are too progressive, doesn't fit in the format. Oh, the intro is too long. Oh, and Grover just like flipped out, like, what the world is this? This is crazy. So I know when it comes to formats and certain genres, and a lot of people do focus on getting on a certain radio station. So, I need to water it down. I can't have so many chords, and I can't get too progressive when I'm playing. That can be challenging, and you kind of answered the question, but I was going to ask you, like, when it comes to you and what you bring to the table, how do you deal with that? you know?
Yeah.
So looking at you making your records, is that something you just totally neglect? Or is that something like, well, you know, let me try to get in here. How does that, you know, how do you approach that? I was just wondering.
Well, my records before, I try to put together, there's certain songs, maybe one or two I put together that I'm happy with, and I still didn't compromise myself, but I say this could work for radio. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm not totally ignorant to the fact that I would, you know, if I can get radio play, great, and I want it. But still, this represents me. And now, what I write for other people, like for Pieces or with Peter White or you know, other people, if I write a song for, you know, other artists, that's fine. That's a whole nother thing. I'm gonna write what they need. So I don't take that kind of attitude when it comes to other people's stuff. But when it comes to, I can fit the format. But when it comes to my stuff, and I've had, trust me, with several record company execs, I've sat down and they asked me to come in. I came in there and then, you know, put it in and go down the list, and they're like, oh, this is too urban. Oh, this is too this. And I said, you know what? No, well, this will work, but it has this. It's a little bit too this, and I'm like, you know what? That's the insult to me. You called me in here, and now you're gonna tell me I'm too much of who I am.
Right.
Thank you, but no thank you. And I've walked out.
Yeah.
You know, and then I've had the whole other discussion with the record company exec of, you can buy this, you can get yourself a new house. You know, like, I already have a house and it's big enough. I don't need. I'm not. That's not why I'm in the music. So I'm not going to sell myself for that. I mean, you know, so it's a fine line, and it's still a struggle because you know, some things are tempting. But I'm determined to be myself and be true, you know, and not be in a poorhouse.
And I think that's the great thing about today's market. It's like, now we can market ourselves. We don't have to go to a record company with, you know, radio, and what we can do just in our homes with our home studios and TuneCore and, you know, Pandora and Spotify. We can be more of ourselves and put our stuff out there. And sometimes I think people are surprised what, you know, the audience is gravitating to, because they may be thinking like, well, I need to do this, but then they just kind of really be authentic and do your thing and come up with this whole new sound. For me, it's like, I'll say, it's a thin line between a genius and a fool, right? Because you can put something out and it's totally different. Oh my gosh, that's genius. I can't believe, listen to that. That sounds like nothing else, and it's unique. And then on the other side, it could be, oh, why did they try to do that? He's foolish. Why did he do that? So, you know, I think the thing is, you just got to be authentic and just do what you do. And I think you're going to have to find your audience that it gravitates to. So for me, it's great hearing you stand on what you're standing on when you talk about that. Yeah.
Excellent. So David, I want to ask you another question here. What's one of the projects that you've worked on that you felt like this was like one of the best projects I ever worked on in my entire career up to this point?
One of the best projects.
And why?
Now that's funny. Wow, nobody's ever asked me that one. Now you gotta, I'm in my Rolodex or whatever. I mean, I'm proud of a lot of them. I'd say Philip Bailey, Soul on Jazz. Because I think I played on 4 or 5 songs on that record. And I used, that might have been the first first recording that I used my mute picking technique, a technique that I developed. And I was proud because we were in the studio, you know, his musical director, Myron Tinley, I think, I can't remember his last name, but anyway, we went over the songs, and I ended up putting a bass line to one of them. And when Philip came in, he was like, man, that's really nice. That's really nice. And he said, who came up with that idea? And I just stood there like this, and the musical director was like, He did. Now I wasn't trying to usurp anything. How would I know that Philip would come in and say,
Exactly.
you know, pick out the very thing that I did, and then want to know who did it?
Right.
You know, I would have been happy with him being happy and going through the whole process. But what was funny to me is the look on the musical director's face when he said, "Whose idea was that?" And he paused for a second. Like, if I was in your position before Philip said anything, I would have said that was his idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to give people credit for what they do. And I'm a big proponent of that. I think in live performances and stuff, I probably talk too much because I believe in giving the musicians credit. I'm always making sure you know their name, what they do, and what they've done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm trying to back off of that, but I really believe in giving people credit for what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd say solo on jazz. Let me think of. I'd say your Unit 3 Deep record, because we are. That was the first record where I've written with other. As a group, written with other members collectively, and we did the whole album. You know what I mean? That was the first project that was like that, and it was successful and it was different. So, our Groove Theory record. This is another thing where at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna say, "Oh, why didn't I say that record?"
Yeah.
I played on a lot of stuff, so it also, the two contingencies is something I've written on and something I've played on.
Right.
So I got to think about all that,
Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, you've done a lot of great work, man. You've done a lot of great work. Don, do you have anything else before we close out?
Well, I was just going to say, and speaking of credit, the bass player name is Brian Bromberg.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you. I would have been.
He's a monster, man. This guy's a monster.
He was amazed that I had his first 2 records. I said, "Man, those blew me away." He's like, "Oh, you still got those? Those are out of print." I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, but he was there. It was a cold night, man. Whoa. Yeah. It was like in the courtyard or something in that. Yeah. That was cool, man. Hopefully we can do that soon again. I was supposed to be playing with Gerald, Jonathan, and I think Pieces, the one that just got canceled. So they're moving into April. So hopefully I'll see you then, my man.
Yeah, we're doing Rehoboth Beach in October. We're going to be down there.
I was supposed to do that, but that's going to be, but they scaled it down because of the whole COVID thing. So the people I was going to play with, they decided not to do it. So
yeah. So everything's been getting canceled, like you said. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully that'll all turn around soon here with everything that's going on. Sounds like a lot of people are getting close to something. We don't want to rush anything. Right. We definitely don't want to have them rushing any kind of vaccines or anything like that. We want to make sure it's solid and been tested and gone through the trials. But I think we're getting, just from the various different things that I'm hearing out there, it sounds like we're getting closer. Yeah. Well, as we get ready to land this interview, man, let me ask you one other question. What's one piece of advice that you would give a young startup bass player, somebody who's just getting started and has dreams like you did? Maybe they're in their teens and they're watching this video and they're thinking, man, how do I get started doing what these guys have done? What advice would you give them?
It's a good question. Even though times have changed in some ways, still, I was just telling my son this last night. This is part of it. And I was realizing it as I was telling him this, because he's got some of the drive that I had as a bass player growing up as a kid in football. And it's like he lives it. He's focused on it. He can see himself on the field and stuff. I said, you know what? I realized, and I've been seeing that late in the past years, whether it be a fighter or whatever, they envision themselves winning. They envision themselves in a certain venue winning. I used to grow up, I used to sing myself to sleep a whole concert. I was playing bass, going to bed many nights, envisioning myself on the Capitol Center. That was the big venue where I live at the time. It's demolished now. It's no longer there. But that was the big venue when I was coming up that I would see all the greats at. And I used to envision every night before I was going to bed, I envision myself being on the stage like Bootsy and Larry Graham and all of them and performing. And when that dream, you know, if you keep dreaming or you keep those visions, it happens. You know, and I realize that's something that's common with all the champions. They envision themselves winning. They envision what they would do in the ring when they, you know, and I've heard them say that. And I was like, wow. And so I was telling my son, I said, the champions envision them winning. Envision the field that you're going to be on. Envision the way you're taking down somebody. Envision the way how you're going to get across that. To get the touchdown. So that's one thing. But as far as working on your craft, that's never quitting. You know, always working on your craft, never quitting, never. There's going to be times when you feel like you're not a musician. I was telling my son that too. There's been many times where I feel like I'm not worthy to even call myself a musician. I hated the way I played tonight, or I feel like I don't have enough knowledge, or you never know everything. And you see somebody else and like, wow, I got a long way to go. You know, there's always going to be somebody but instead of that, look at that person as inspiring you. So always have mentors. Check out everybody. Listen to everybody. I'm influenced now. My mute picking technique kind of comes from somebody that didn't really even play bass. It was a drummer from. He used to play with Kevin Eubanks and Herbie Hancock and the David Holland band drummer. His name is Gene Jackson. We were roommates in Berkeley. He would pick up my bass when I come home and we'd rap and play chess. He'd pick up my bass and he didn't even know the notes. The notes didn't even sound right. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want it plugged up. It was the rhythms he was playing and the way he was playing it. I was like, that's killing. Do that again. I'd have on my bass. I'm like, I want to be able to do that, but with notes and be able to play the bass line and then have the accents and maybe playing some lines in between the licks and stuff. And I eventually developed my own thing.
Oh wow! So you developed that from a drummer playing your bass that was playing the wrong notes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, you can learn from anybody.
Right. Don't shun anybody's playing, no matter what level you think they're on. You know, everybody's got something to offer. Everybody's got something to offer. And then, as far as getting gigs, friends of yours that have gigs and stuff, anywhere where you'd be, where you can get some not notoriety, but be noticed by somebody else that could give you a gig. I know it's a pain to ask, can you sit in? But get to a level where you can ask to sit in on a gig. And that's how people see you. You know, I've gotten gigs from sitting in, and I didn't even want to sit in. My friend said, man, you go up there and play. That's how I got the Jonathan Butler gig. I was there. I was in Rehoboth Beach at a festival. And this was like some kind of jam somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan Butler was there. And Gerald was there. Gerald was there. And I did not want to eat. A lot of people know I'm not a jam person. I don't like a jam. I grew up jamming all the time. I love music, but no, I don't want to go to a jam. I don't feel like jamming. But then again, when I get there and there's great musicians, I have fun.
Yeah.
But initially, no, I don't want to go to a jam. I want to go make some money. I do that. I play music because I love it all the time anyway. So if I want to break, I don't want to go to the jam. I want to go to an amusement park, So,
Right.
So anyway, let me go. So furthermore, try to sit in and then never stop learning, never stop practicing. And then finally, when you start getting some kind of facility on your instrument, listen to everybody and everybody's techniques and everybody's style, but eventually develop your own style. And so taking somebody's lick that you love and make it your own. It's not stealing if you make it your own. You're inspired by them. People do it all the time. Exactly. So take somebody's technique or lick and make it your own. People are going to want you for your uniqueness eventually. That's what's going to make you the money. So
very true.
Down the line, being unique, that's what yourself. Let yourself come out. Not you sounding like Marcus Miller or you sounding like Stanley Clarke. You can, as you're learning, you're going to do that. But eventually, And that hard lesson came at a Metro Talent Search. A guy backstage came and told me that. He said, "Man, you sound great." You know, and I was a little kid thinking, yeah, you know, I know I sounded great. You know, I had a little big head. He said, "You sounded great." And I was ready for all the compliments. He said, "Yeah, you sounded great, but you need to find your own sound. You sound just like Stanley Clarke." And my feelings were really hurt, but it's the best thing you could have told me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's best to get your own style, to get your own playing, and you got to learn from others, and you got to kind of go down that road. But a part of that is where you do discover your own voice once you hear all these different styles together. And then you kind of eventually develop your own style there. So David, if somebody wants to learn more about you, where do they go?
Aha. Shoot, I should have put the scan thing on the on my retro card. www.daviddyson, DYSON, bass.com. That's my website. I'm on Spotify. I'm still learning how to promote more, you know, the whole thing with Spotify now. But I'm on Spotify. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You know, David Dyson on Instagram. I have a Low Hand Funk page on Instagram. Twitter, okay. David Dyson. So you can find me there. And hit me up. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Oh, and my YouTube channel, all my videos, Low Hand Funk Tube. LOHANDFUNK Tube. And that's a Low Hand Funk channel.
I follow your bass lines on LinkedIn. I check out what you're doing there, and that takes me over to LinkedIn, over to YouTube as well. So, Donald, I don't know if you have anything else before we close out.
Hey, I was just going to say, it sounds like all I need to do is Google your name and a whole bunch of stuff will come up. So I'm good.
Just go to daviddysonbass.com and you can find all those links and all this stuff. You got a lot of great things there, man. And again, you honestly, I'll be honest, I'm 57 and I know you 50 something. And
55
yeah, I wish I looked like that when I was 55. Like but man, you're doing a great job, and you inspired me. Honestly, that's why I put you in my book, because when I went to the bass boot camp, and I even came out to a club in Maryland one time, and you and a group were out there playing, and I just wanted to listen and check out what you were doing. And you inspired me to really get back into playing as well, and realize that I'm not too old, and I still got something to give. And
Never
working with those guys, yeah, it's been a blessing, man. It really has.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. You have definitely inspired me. So, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Again, if you want to learn more about David Dyson, go to daviddysonbass.com. And you can learn all you need about David Dyson and about learning to be surrendered to support, which is really the essence of being a great musician, is being humble, and working with each other.
I like that.